We saw a lot of looks from a lot of different teams already here. CIS Hope, one of them. But so far we've seen probably, I would say, more of this Orisa Hog setup that we're seeing at the moment from CIS Hope. It looks like on the attacking side, we might see something similar as Latex is on the Orisa. That's the guy you want to look at for the main tank. Everything else will kind of fall into place. But with a Widow v Widow matchup between Kenzie and Envision, you were talking before about how Kenzie is a guy you're certainly looking at in this matchup. How do you think Envision matches up in this particular matchup with Widow v Widow?
It's gonna be a tough one for him because so far from what he's displayed on that particular hero, it seems a little bit lacking compared to the opposition and the high caliber of his opponents so far. And as a result, I wouldn't be too surprised if he will eventually make the swap over to something like a Tracer. But to start things off, it will be Mad on that Bastion, so still choosing that one to start things off, but it is already going to be Unfix picking up the first kill as he gets a second onto Rubicon, and again, Kenzie, the first one to win out that Widow v Widow.
And he's gonna go off too. He's not even gonna just take out his opposition, that other Widowmaker on the field, Envision. He's also just gonna go ahead and clean the board pretty much by himself. We're seeing some adjustments being made here though. Matt gonna go off of the Bastion and over to a more pivotal role, I would say, in the form of Genji. And I do like this because this is gonna put some pressure now onto Kenzie. Should deny him a little bit, create some extra space for Envision to play with, and get rid of that duel that, like we talked about already, probably going to favor CIS Hope already.
But considering the fact that Unfix is just picking targets time and time again with that Junkrat, is really enabling the rest of his team to play far forward, right next to the Plato, and deny as much distance towards that objective here for this lineup of Jigsaw. And things are not looking good for them. They're gonna potentially look to just build up those ultimates, eventually make a full swap to something like a dive composition, as Division is really the only one left. But Zhao taking out Matt is gonna be a good opener here, especially with Rubicon going down as well.
Yeah, Rubicon tried to go forward and try to avoid that Riptire, wound up walking himself right into it, unfortunately. So yet another pick for Unfixed, and now we're going to be seeing Envision backed up yet again, trying to take on Kenzie. Hasn't worked out so well for him at the moment, as Kenzie has really gotten the better end of that deal. Almost Envision taking that one, and Envision now getting a couple opportunities, a lot more space for him, so he's going to find the kill onto main. And with that Zenyatta down, they might have an opening here. However, that Rez is going to come out. Ivanathiel forced to actually pop that Valkyrie. They're going to go forward. Latex falls. That's going to get the res. He still has that next charge as well, as we still see damage going across the board. And here's Matt's opportunity.
Oh, no.
He gets killed off as soon as he pops the blade. He goes down.
And by the passive at that, Unfix returning fire in a big fashion, but overall the staying power still very strong here for Jigsaw with the likes of Vonafil. However, with the Valkyrie tuning out, there's still going to be Matt returning with another kill this time around onto Zhao, who did manage to find a kill himself. However, now with Aang going down, Vision picking up the skills, picking up the slack on this Widowmaker will secure the team fight eventually. But Unfixed there, unfortunate for Matt. It always got to sting when you're on that Genji. You take down those annoying Junkrats, and they still get you with the passive. But really here, CIS Hope unable to contest the payload means they will force to regroup, get that high ground objective at the very least, or rather advantage at the very least going into this next phase, especially considering so many teams holding off with that defense towards that second point.
We saw in the past how Matt can turn the tides of a game. Sometimes it doesn't secure the maps, but it does give your team an opportunity. He's gonna have to step up though, because Unfixed has been unleashed so far here on the Junkrat. Really doing a lot of work, especially in finding Rubicon, forcing Rezas out and slowing down these fights. Aang, though, positioned way too aggressively here, trying to get some healing out to his team. He falls, but so does Vonafil. And now Unfixed, again, with so much space to work with, he's going to just unleash again for a fourth time now as he goes forward. 63% towards his next tire as Rubicon comes back from spawn with Vonafil. Matt trying to get this going with the blade, but overall just not able to find anything here. So with these supports coming back, though, Rubicon, of course, with the Transcendence, Vonafil pretty close to having himself a Valkyrie. They can keep going forward. They can keep this pressure going, but they need to find something quick. Main had to use his Transcendence in that last fight just to try to deny Matt, and Unfixed goes down. That's a big pickup here.
especially since they're gonna just try to go in on that payload, look to close the second point out, but main answers with a kill of his own. Rubicon gets another one. The Zenyatta's here on both sides being bloodthirsty as ever, but now with that ultimate coming out of Bonifil, it's gonna mean that the rest of his team should be able to have an easy time to stay alive, and with that, get that second objective rolling. And a lot of time on the board here for Jigsaw as well, looking pretty damn strong to start things off on Junkertown.
Vision still holding on to that Widow pick, trying to get some sight lines now as he's moving up onto the high ground. Gonna get a little bit of damage onto Sharik, so he's gonna go down pretty low, forced now to kind of come back a little bit. Now has his jump yet again. And look at how they're just trying to put all the pressure onto Latex. Latex falling low here. A lot of healing going to him, but Mercy now under fire. Bonifil is forced to back up a little bit, and there's still, this is a lot of pressure going over towards both sides on the Winston. And now it's Sharik with the Primal Rage trying to find something in the back, but Matt finds the kill. He still has the blade. He's going to pull it out. Looking for main now, finding the kill there. The Transcendence from Rubicon backing him up so that he can just unleash here. Tons of damage onto Unfixed as he falls. They're trying to find the Mercy here as Aang is in the sky, and Matt backing up now, trying to take Kenzie on, who finds the health pack and then the recall. He's just trying to take time off the clock. Somehow finds a kill onto Vision too.
With the help of Aang there, he did pull out the pistol himself. However, he will go down at the end, and not too much really gained out of that particular Valk usage. Only a little bit of extra time to make sure the rest of his team regroups. And considering the fact that main does have that Transcendence, they might look to win this next team fight by enabling Unfixed with that Dragon Blade coming into it. But we'll see if that will be the case, as so far both teams contesting that high ground, trying to get an advantage off of it. It would actually be Vonnefield popping the Valkyrie first here, but the Blade is going to be prompted. Transcendence to potentially support him, but overall, it is a 2v1. And Unfixed going down as well, even though Vonnefield gets somehow found by the self-destruct. It's not going to matter, as overall, it's still all about Jigsaw. Still picking names, still taking those kills.
This is a big opportunity for Rubicon to get a ton of healing too, so that he can get his Transcendence. That's what you want in this particular moment here. They find the kill onto Aang. That's huge. Demecking Zhao now as well. Transcendence out, just securing this fight for Jigsaw. They're going to surge forward. They still have tons of time to play with if they need it, even if it comes down to a little bit of a delay here for the defense, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Aang trying to come back from spawn. He's not going to make it. 125 to work with if you're Jigsaw.
And those self-destructs paying off there in the end, getting, I believe, 2 kills on Mercy 2 times in a row there. And as a result, they will manage to push through, get that third objective, which we haven't seen too much in the past. Most of these teams overall, especially looking back at Group A, really holding off strong when it comes to the defensive side. So like to see all this aggression coming out of Group B, looking to really make it more dynamic overall. And now they will be swapping over sides. We'll see Matt's take on Junkrat, and so far Envision will look to once again contest Kenzie on that Widowmaker v Widowmaker potentially. But looking at Sharik, the fact that he picked out that Reinhardt and main as well now with them Moira, might just see the quad tank once again.
So this could be where Kenzie, I mean, he has an option. Do you want to go for the Widowmaker? Do you want to go for the Tracer? Do you want to go for the Junkrat? Do you want to go for the Zarya? I mean, there's a lot of different plays. There's a lot of different looks you could have here in this composition. You know, a lot of times you'll see a Zarya, but that is interchangeable. We've seen how with a 3-tank strat, even with, you know, the Roadhog as well, you can have a little bit of plug and play. So it looks at the moment like he's going to be picking out the Widowmaker. And I do like this because in that matchup, at least in the beginning, we did see Kenzie definitely getting the better end of that deal. But once Matt did make that swap over to Genji, that's when things started to turn a little bit. But he's not on the Genji. He's on defense and he's on the Junkrat. So perhaps an opportunity here for Kenzie to find another couple of wins in that duel department and maybe find himself some picks to allow his team to start surging forward early on. But once we do see, you know, that getting shut down, if Matt does make a swap, he has the ability to make some swaps. He can go over to that Tracer. He can go over, you know, to the Zarya. He can make a lot of different options work for himself.
So we'll see what he can do, because Unfix, even though on the opposition side, we did see that Widowmaker come out, he did have a lot of good kills here to open things off when it comes to that first point defense, but it's gonna be Zhao taking down Rubicon, and one support down means that Latex is gonna be next. He's gonna follow as well, and even though Bonafel is still alive for now, the question is for how long, as he can't go in for any reses. It's gonna be all about CIS Hope picking out those easy kills at this point with no frontline left really. So to that Roadhog, it does make things very difficult for them in terms of just making any defensive hold, but looking out in this next team fight, they will have at the very least one more opportunity to hold. So it's going to come down to whether or not their upcoming approach will be well timed, as Sharek is going to look to contest. All the way at the front will be dropped pretty low, but Coalescence gonna be popped, and Kenzie getting a counter advantage is gonna be big. Even though the Riptide comes out, Zhao still doesn't get desuited, and as a result, it should eventually be CIS Hope winning out this one.
Kenzie still popping off in the back line as well. He shut down Envision. There's just no threat to him. Look at how much space Kenzie has because of this triple tank setup. Nobody has even really put any kind of damage into him. I'm not even sure if he's even taken one hit of damage yet. Maybe from Envision, but I'm not exactly sure if that's even the case. He's been putting some pressure on Devonethil as well, who's been trying to pocket Envision, but Envision falls again very late. But remember, it is a Tracer, so he'll come back pretty quick. But overall, this attack from CIS Hope looking extremely solid right now.
And with a lot of ultimates to work with as well, it's going to make things really difficult for Jigsaw here to potentially hold. But Leodaz is going to open it up with a whole hog, just push everyone away, make sure they get a potential good hold here on the high ground. And Sharek, not entirely sure what he wanted to go for there. Maybe get one pick secured, as he does most likely want to eventually make the swap over from that Reinhardt, but it's going to be all about Jigsaw. Matt picking up another kill. Of course, Vonafil can even surge forward alongside Envision. Let's go ahead and regroup for now, as Sharek still sticking to that Reinhardt, so not entirely sure what happened there.
Okay, I mean, I was trying to watch a duel on the side a little bit on my screen, so I didn't actually get to see, but I swapped over to Sharek's POV, and I just see him earth-shattering nothing, and I don't know if he got, like, thrown off, like if he got pulled off or something like that by the Orisa or what, but that was a very strange way to use that ultimate. Now they're going to get aggressive. This is really good with the Coalescence up like this. We're seeing a lot of healing coming out onto this tank lineup, and they're going to be able to come right back in. We do see a little bit of ult charge coming from that massive fire strike that they had too, and now they're all separated here. Everybody on Jigsaw is all over the place. Rubicon's still kind of fragging out a little bit, but not before he goes down. We will see Unfixed finding that kill. Now it's just about finding this Roadhog, and they're going to do that pretty late here. Chain Hook from Unfixed going to secure that kill. They're going to go forward. No hope at all for a recontest before this next point gets captured, and there it is. 4:40 on the clock, and overall a good pace that has yet to be stopped from CIS Hope.
And we might have wanted to go for the Tracer shutdown. Not entirely sure, but doesn't matter, as so far it's still looking exceptional here for CIS Hope, where the opposition really out of luck when it comes to their remainder of the resources there. Only really Leo that's coming close to a second ultimate on board. We know how fast really those pulse bombs can charge up, but Envision will still try to look for an angle. Will be forced to actually still gets the kill in the end, never mind, as even Mad comes in now, enabled potentially by that whole hog, getting the second support down as well. Sharek, Mad Dash to get out of there, will be eventually going down, as we'll see in the end, Jigsaw holding out.
And when you're trying to buy time as a defensive team, Riptires are big. They're very influential in trying to, stall the offense, take kills, make sure that they're waiting for respawns, things of that nature. And in these fights where they have all these tanks, Matt can really, if he has the space at least, and nobody's really putting pressure on him, find a lot of damage, get his ultimate up really quick, and he's pulling away with a Riptire for every one of these. That's good news for the defense for Jigsaw. Now Riptire coming out from him. He's looking for an opportunity. He doesn't get the kill, but he does back them up a little bit, forcing ults out now. Both support ults have already been in play by CIS Hope. We're seeing some kills on the board yet again from the offense, as Unfixed going forward has the whole hog again here, looking for a hook, but doesn't need it to secure the kill onto Latex. They're now looking for the supports. They kill off Rubicon. It's been clinical so far for CIS Hope.
And now rapidly approaching that final checkpoint, and we'll see Shuri almost with another Earth Shatter good to go, and some final desperate swaps coming out of Jigsaw as well to make sure they hold. They do have the Transcendence if need be though, so that stall things enough. However, with Matt making the swap over to the Pharah, no one is going to be really having a very easy time to deal with him so far. It's going to come down to potentially a hook or something of that nature, but it's going to be Leo that's taking down the first kill. Kenzie answers with a D-suit, and with Transcendence now being popped, an opening could be made here for CIS Hope to close it out, but Kenzie gets found by the hook, killed off. Leodets picks out another, even Rubicon still fragging out. And as a result, Jigsaw still holding out strong, and time's ticking away here, Hirix.
And now we're going to see Matt kind of toy with the idea of switching. They're seeing that a lot of adjustments are being made from CIS Hope. So, you know, playing a Pharah out right here as Kenzie goes back over to the window, not something you really want to do. So he's going to switch over to the Genji. I like the swaps that he's made. It's unfortunate that they've kind of whittled down to this point before they're making these big adaptations that are going to give themselves a better opportunity to take the win here. But nonetheless, they're making them, so they still have a shot. Shark now going forward, trying to contest the high ground, trying to put pressure on it, get control here so that the Widowmaker has space to work with. Kenzie now looking for some shots due to the fact that they did do such a good job on that high ground. We're seeing the self-destruct come out, finds 2 kills, and a big one onto Vonathil.
Very much so enabled by the rest of his team as they will manage to pick up a 3rd kill with Kenzie catching Leodets, and now everyone falling short, only Envision returning 1 kill. It's going to be a very desperate hit coming out of the defensive side. Even Vonnefield just popping the Valkyrie to make sure he gets back in, gets a res this time onto Rubicon, who's going to look to potentially get his Transcendence up. Is lying off at the sides, gets taken down. However, the rest of his team is still struggling on that payload. No answers so far, and it's going to be all about CIS Hope to close this one out, as overall in terms of that time back, it's still in an advantageous position here for Jigsaw overall, and they get it in the end, but very well fought here by Jigsaw.
That was one of those Poco self-destructs, wasn't it? You wait for everybody to use their mobility, wait for the barrier to come down so there's no opportunity to try to get away from it. You can't zone it off, and then give them some kind of you know, situation where they have to choose. You know, you either go ahead, you can either run into our tanks and die, you can run towards our Widowmaker and die, or you can try as you may, run away and try to find some kind of line of sight to get away from the self-destruct, which, because of the positioning that Zhao put that in, and obviously with great practice comes great execution, it's just so hard to get away from something like that. Just pinpoint accuracy on the self-destruct, finds the 2 kills to open things up. Pivotal kills at that. Vonathil on the Mercy, that's the big one. But then even a second one, just as big, onto Matt, the guy who's been so pivotal in a lot of these team fights. Take him out of the equation. You got a 6v4 advantage, and you're pulling 2 of probably the most important people that you possibly could out of Jigsaw's lineup. Now we're seeing on the defensive side a tank strat, 4 tanks at that, and Rubicon Vonathil, of course, on the Moira Lucio. Going to be a very aggressive defensive hold against what is going to be a 3 tank with a Widowmaker. Kenzie's not going to have a lot of room here.
And considering they only have 1 minute to work with, we've seen in the past how really rewarding this aggressive tank lineup can really be in the end, as they're gonna look forward, pushing it onto that objective. Kenzie still looking for a sideline, doesn't find anything just yet as it gets de-nested by Matt there, unable to hold his ground on top of that particular building. And so far, it's an all-out brawl on that payload. Slowly but surely, both sides really building up those ultimates, and Latex is coming dangerously close to a Nerf Shatter, and if he gets a kill, especially on that Reinhardt, it's just going to be free reign for him. But Rubicon picking down, and it's going to be huge potentially here. The D-suit is not going to happen either, and Jigsaw looking really strong here as they even have that Coalescence good to go. The answer might come out of main, and it's going to come down to these potential picks here. Kenzie needs to do something to start it off, but it's going to be the Coalescence on both sides. A laser show here as the Airshot is going to find 2, and it's going to be enough considering overtime should kick in. It might just be it, even the Graviton, and it's going to be Jigsaw fighting it out in big style here. Fashion show coming out of him. Zhao gets the resource, is going to continue to stall things, and with the double kill, maybe still gets Zhao with a heroic play. Is it going to be enough? The D-suit happens, we'll see the respawns, and he might have just done it somehow again with a double kill self-destruct.
Well, they're going to speed boost back. Vonethil trying to get back into it, but I think they're going to want to stall this to try to get everybody collated, get back together. And if I'm Kenzie, I want to make the swap to Tracer right now. He does indeed. I think that should have been a little bit earlier, but a great first hold somehow, some way, though. Zhao was the one who unlocked that last point, unlocks it here for them as well. That was going to be so awful for CIS Hope's chances if they got stopped there. Now with another opportunity, Matt's been so good about denying Kenzie. Can he continue this now? You do see Leo Deads on the Tracer trying to take him on a little bit as well. Whole Hog coming out. Sound barrier for Aang, and they're going to go forward. CIS Hope winning this fight as well so far. Can they turn it around though? Latex close to that Earthshatter. He's looking for it. He throws him on the ground. Can they find the kills?
He only gets one, and it's not good enough. However, the self-destruct is going to come through from the defensive side as well. But unfortunately, the angle isn't there. It's going to be all about CIS Hope cleaning up house on this payload, and we're going to potentially see a mad dash from that spawn. I don't think they're going to make it in time, and they need to hold during this second phase of Junkertown, which so far was looking amazing here for Jigsaw, but CIS Hope keeping that hope strong indeed, as they will continue to move forward, and so much distance covered off of that self-destruct too, Hurix.
Now Kenzie gonna go over to the McCree. I like this a lot actually, especially because I'm sure that he spotted Matt changing up. This is a swap that we saw Matt kind of desiring early on. Made it already in that last phase on their defense, but now getting hooked out of the sky, saved by the defense matrix. They're backing him up, trying to get him out safely, but Kenzie on this McCree is hunting for this Mercy. Now have a big opening for the Pharah. He's got him down low, and Vision gonna save the day for that Pharah now, as Matt still not gonna really have any healing. They're trying to contest here. There's no hope for them. He's gonna just get his way on out of here as Vonethil is back from spawn. But look at the distance now being covered by CIS Hope. This is insane to see. They almost got stopped right outside of their spawn and now have surged forward, looking like they're poised to take a second objective. Aang now at 70% towards his next sound bearer. I mean, there's really nothing to stop them at the moment other than just some kind of miracle from Matt getting this barrage up and finding another 3K like we saw yesterday at King's Row.
Or maybe potentially any displacement here coming out of the defensive side could also enable that. But Kenzie answering with the first kill is going to be huge. The Rocket Barrage finding no kills. It's going to be Ed getting 2 kills and a D-suit at that. Lucio plays coming out of him, and it's going to be second point achieved. This is insane to watch. Somehow CIS Hope, where it was looking very dire for them, are going to be looking, as you said, poised to just bring it all the way home, getting that third objective too, because the discipline cutting out of this roster has been very impressive. They have so many ultimates to work with, and if they can really find as another safe engage, I can't see how really over on the defensive side they can stop them at this point.
And look at what they've got available. Not only have they demeched the Diva, we're seeing tons of ultimates being unleashed here as a sound barrier saves here from Aang. They're going forward. An Earthshatter down from Sharik. They're trying to find the kill onto Vonethil, but they didn't find it. Protection from Leo Deads because he got that resuit from his ultimate. They're surging forward after the Transcendence from Rubicon. They're finding the kills. Matt brought back up. He's at 73%. Make it 86. They're finding the kills even more now. They don't even need the attack visor to clean up. They finally make the stop with 49.51 meters here. 5 points. They got 2 more in overtime with only a minute on the clock. They did their entire push in overtime because it took until that stage to even win the first fight right outside their spawn. That's insane.
It's gonna be really tough if you're Jigsaw, because you gotta feel a little bit demoralized, I imagine, after what was looking like such a good start for them on their defensive side. We'll have to do even better than CIS Hope run to really get a win here on Junkertown. And at this point, I really don't know what the best choice in terms of those compositions will be, because looking at the side of CIS Hope, they look to really replay the same comp they did when it comes to their respective first point defense, and they had quite a lot of success at that. Only eventually did Jigsaw really find the space they needed to push through, and now that we will have Jigsaw's take on that offensive round, we'll be curious to see if they're going to go for a quad tank as well, or just have Envision on that Widowmaker. Who do you think you really want to see enabled here for Jigsaw to potentially pull an even further distance on that payload.
Well, Envision has to be enabled because in a matchup against Kenzie, I don't know. That's going to be a very tough one. Kenzie was disabled on the Widowmaker before by Matt being on Diva. It worked out really well for them. He just kept contesting the Widowmaker. Now that Matt's back on the Diva, you really are putting a lot of hope and prayers into Envision, who right now is not having a good day against Kenzie.
Unlucky.
He shut him down. I don't think Kenzie has lost that duel yet. I think Kenzie is 4-0 right now in that, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 3-0.
Definitely looking like the victor in that matchup so far, as we'll at the very least see some distance being covered here. Playing very aggressive here for Jigsaw, looking to get an angle, now getting a little bit displaced by that mine. Over on the defensive side, Unfix going really close to charging their Riptire, and getting the kill onto Lake is going to be big. But 43 seconds remaining means that even if they lose this team fight, they can regroup and pull through still in the end. But they really need to or rather make sure that those staggered kills are stopped as quickly as possible, because the more time they lose here, the worse it's gonna be. Rubicon does have that coalescence ready, but with Envision making the swap over to the Zarya with so little time, it's gonna be very difficult for him to be effective at all.
And they're going to go forward again, relying on Matt to make some plays, try to shut down either the Junkrat or Kenzie. He's looking at the Junkrat right now, completely disregarding, actually, the Widowmaker, Kenzie. And if you do that with Kenzie with all this space, it's going to be tough to bring this team down. CIS Hope really going to find a lot of damage here. They demech Matt. Now there's no hope. The Riptire comes out. Rubicon and Matt go down inside of it, and they are cleaning things up. CIS Hope with the staunch defense here in overtime. They're looking now to try to take Aang down. They're looking to try to allow Aang to stay alive, as he was almost taken down. And they do make the stop, 5-3. CIS Hope keeping the dream alive in overtime there to take the first map.
What an amazing way to start things off here on this day of the Overwatch Pit Season 2 Championship. But after this play the game, we'll be right back with after some short commercials. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back at the analysis desk. Ciao, whatever you were eating today, it seems to be working. You should have more of that, because those two self-destructs, they basically were the key point of the matches.
And hey, maybe consider sharing some of that with his teammates, because with performance like that, it's gonna be so tough to call him out for losing any future map, really.
Also, Kenzie was winning the duel against Invision all the time, which was a big factor, and Mine was delivering the Coalescence, and they just knew how to play around that.
They really set him up, really, as well, for those big self-destruct plays. On top of that, it was a bit of a team effort when it comes to making sure, just like Hurik said, you have the front line really contesting alongside the Coalescents, who will keep the tanks alive, do the damage onto the opposition, and of course, if you try to run off to the side, Kenzie was on point with the Widowmaker too, so...
Coming up next is Horizon. We've seen Jigsaw play Horizon yesterday, and they went into overtime with Orglas and Hungry. It didn't look bad. It was actually pretty good, I'd say.
Most definitely, and as a result, they need to keep stepping it up. So far, I'd say a more impressive performance overall, and they're looking to potentially still contest that win.
I'm interested to see if CIS Hope fix their mistake from the match against Squid, because they lost Horizon before, so it will be interesting to see how this series will fare. The match seems to be ready. Let's jump right into it.
Coming over to Horizon Lunar Colony, both teams having been on this map once apiece now, and we've seen some different looks now, and I expect something a little different from both of these teams, especially from CIS Hope, who in the past, they've played this Sombra strat, playing with Kenzie, trying to enable this Tracer player, which I think is a good play. Here on defense, though, I can't imagine they're going to want to play the Sombra. I mean, they definitely could, just to deny one themselves, but we haven't seen that from Jigsaw, so I don't think that's the play here. I think you pick out Unfixed on a Junkrat, put Kenzie on like a Widowmaker or something. I think that's your best bet. Unless, of course, they want to go for the counter dive or something, but they're going to go for the Sombra strat here, as it is their attack. They're going to go forward, and again, with their attack here with Unfixed on this Sombra, they're going to try to go ahead, secure that mega health pack, then they're going to go back to the other side. They're going to get that multiple angle threat where Kenzie and Unfixed are just suppressing on the back line. But look where Kenzie is already. He's already on the point. He's already going to be pulling this defense down and back. So now they're taking this two-front threat already.
And Rubicon managing to find the first kill of that teamfight charade going down. It's going to mean that they should have a relatively easy time of continuing on this hold. They will manage to get one tick, however, here for CIS Hope, as they will look to potentially get Unfixed charged up on that EMP to set up a point take. However, overall, I really like what's coming out of this Jigsaw lineup. Envision on that McCree will be able to potentially shut down not only Unfixed, but also especially Kenzie on that Tracer. Just doesn't really matter if you have those health packs and that HP gain back up if you're just gonna die within that burst. So we'll see if he's gonna go for a potential headshot or if he's just gonna stick with the rest of his team so far. Looks like he's somewhat in that backline for now.
It's also classic anti-dive too, because when they try to jump and contest this high ground, Jigsaw can easily go forward with Matt and Envision. You have McCree and you have Junkrat. That's just so much damage for the front line to deal with. You can see how that reacts with Zhao, especially, where he just gets killed off almost immediately. Now Sharik just doesn't have any of that support from the defense matrix that you would like to see for your Winston, and because of that, he's unable to do anything. So with one kill onto a D.Va, it shuts down the entire attack, because if Sharik goes in by himself now, he'll die instantly. We've already seen what they can do to who has more armor on the D.Va. Now imagine what would happen to the Winston.
And with so many ultimates ready, we'll see Unfixed go for that EMP. Does shut down what he needs, but is going to be enough as Envision and with a kill of his own. However, it is 3-for-1 advantage here for CIS Hope. They will continue to look to push this, but Envision, what a huge double kill, looking to turn things around. Big Deadeye there as Unfixed picks up a double of his own, but Envision trying to be the hero here for this Jigsaw lineup will not make it through at the end, but it was so close there. Envision almost single-handedly shutting down the opposition. However, with Zhao as well as Kenzie left on the point, it will be a point taken. More importantly, they managing to shut down those supports really made it easier for them. But man, did Envision answer ever.
Yeah, Envision definitely stepping up. That's probably the best play we've seen from him so far in this tournament. And if he can continue that, then I think Jigsaw are going to be looking a lot better going forward, but they have to secure their spot in the playoffs first. And it's going to take this game right here and the next one to try to do that. But Jigsaw has swapped Matt over to the Genji, and they've made the adjustments on the attacking side as well. Soundberry coming out from Aang. They're looking to try to get aggressive. Main falling, though, as Envision takes that kill. First kill on the board with Bonathil following soon after, and Unfixed on this Soldier has already been denested off of this high ground, so he's going to try to come back. He's not going to have that same angle that you would really like to have with the high ground, and Chao going to fall now. Rubicon going down as well, and Leodad's going to get out of mech. So here's the thing now, with Valk out for Bonathil, he's going to be under pressure. He's going to be under fire right now. Down to about 20 HP, looking to try to get all over the place. Has a couple of res options, but Main finding the kill onto Bonathil. This is a big opening for CIS Hope. They have everybody that they can onto the point. Main very safe and sound up here on the high ground, already putting out so much damage to Latex. They find it, 422 off of the back of an excellent EMP from Unfixed to secure that first objective. They just ride the momentum straight through the rest of the map.
And at this point, it's going to be looking very jarring for Jigsaw, knowing that they have to really make sure they get that first point and snowball it as fast as possible to have a good shot looking forward. But man, that was just a really close one, because when it comes to that first point, if Envision somehow still clutched it out in the end, and the rest of his team managed to somehow regroup before they had to really give up the point, it could have been a totally different game. But looking now at the side of CIS Hope, they're looking to run Unfixed on that Mei again. We saw it yesterday, and we saw how effective it really can be against those quad tank compositions, because if he manages to really section off one of those tanks, or even two potentially, shutting those down quickly to start out a team fight can really be big here for CIS Hope. But looking at Jigsaw, they're not running a quad tank now, Hurix.
No, they are not. They are running something entirely different, going with sort of, I guess, dive with verticality, you could call it. Matt going to be on this this fair. This is something that you saw a lot actually in NA, probably around October, November, I want to say, of course, of last year. And I mean, it's something. Maybe it was actually before that. It was a lot of times you would see CLG on this. This would be something that they would run very often. Maybe a little bit different support play, but otherwise it's pretty much this. Now, getting into this though, Matt with the Zarya, they're looking to try to deny Kinsey here if they can, so that Matt has an opening on this Pharah. Otherwise, he would be taken out. And if they do stick with this, that's going to be one thing to look at. The duel, instead of being Envision versus Kinsey, which obviously Kinsey is flawless in, now goes over to Matt versus Kinsey, and certainly Kinsey has the upper hand in the matchup, just given the heroes that they've selected. But if they can shut down Kinsey and try to deny some of these sightlines, Matt can maybe take advantage of that, but that's not going to start out that way at least.
The resurrection will be there at the very least for Bonathil, trying to equalize things. However, Shuri entering with another kill onto Latex this time around is going to make sure the team fight is still going in favor of CIS Hope as they hold on strong onto the point. But as I say that, Matt still finding Bane there is going to be brought back up with the Resurrect. Not yet expended by Aang, means that he will have that available as Kenzie picks him out of the sky a second time.
And Envision needs to get into position here so that he's on the backside, turning Kinsey around. If he can turn Kinsey around, that's exactly what they need. But Matt, instead, just going to get away from that. Wants to go instead to the Genji. This has worked for them before as well. Even looking at the last map where they pulled out the Genji, it's just a little bit more pressure for Kenzie to deal with. They can maybe get something working here as they're going to go very aggressive. Main now by himself on the backside. That's going to be punished by Matt. And they find the kill. Already 3 on the board as Envision does pop off here on the Tracer, finding Kinsey and Main. Now going to be able to get the stick onto Zhao, and that's going to demech the Diva. They're going to find that kill and clinically dismantle the defense of CIS Hope, securing that first objective. And while Matt only got the kill onto the Zenyatta there, it was Envision on the other side with the Tracer. Great play from him to secure that.
Really stepping it up here, coming into this day of the Overwatch pit, as we will see Unfix now make the swap over from Mei. That particular hero choice not really paying off in the end, means that he's going to try and have a little bit more success on the Soldier. We'll see Main rapidly approach that Transcendence, but over on the offensive side, they have so many ultimates to work with. If they can really make sure to not overlap those support ultimates, they could potentially snowball this into a win. But as they go on to the point, it will be Kenzie picking out that first kill onto Rubicon. Will be brought back up, should have the Transcendent. Self-destruct is gonna go down, finds no kills. We'll have the reset as Kenzie picks up Rubicon again. A second kill on that. Rubicon will survive though, as Waterfall will bring him back a second time. And now with Matt answering with a kill of his own, we'll have the Blaze gonna pull it out, gets a kill onto Sharik, looking to continue, gets another one onto Main. And it's going to be eventually Jigsaw potentially taking his point, but Unfixed answer with a Tag Visor is gonna get a kill in return. However, is it going to be enough? Seems like it's not, but it does stall out enough time until Sharik comes back up to the point. Now having the Primal Rage, will look to push the opposition away. One tick already achieved though. Still alive on that Winston. Will look to delay things even further as the rest of his team is going to be able to go back onto the point. Matt though, still cleaning up, still getting those resets. Will look to do more. The mech will be lost as Zhao will go for the second stroke, buying some crucial seconds here for the rest of his team, especially since Kenzie managing to find Latex there will potentially be big, but it seems like it doesn't matter as the Transcendence was built back up, and it's going to be Jigsaw in the end getting an even better time on their offensive push.
That's exactly. If anybody wants to look in the dictionary right now and look up the term misappropriating Transcendence, that's what it looks like. Main on the Zenyatta pulled the Transcendence out as soon as he got pressured by the Winston. He was safe. He was invulnerable where he was in the spawn. And then he just pulls the Transcendence out when Sharik and Zhao just aren't really taking enough damage to warrant trying to use that. You know, you still have Aang in the mix as well. You pull that out, then patience displayed by Matt as he's generating up his blade. He holds it for just a moment there as well, and then the Transcendence falls. Matt cleaned things up because there's no way that they can do anything about it, because after the Transcendence falls, that's when the pressure is applied. Sharik and Zhao just aren't in a position to do anything about him, and Matt just goes off, and that's the snowball that just starts rolling down the mountain, and there's no stopping it at that stage when you don't have those support ults to back things up and try to regain a footing. Now we will see Vonathil back on this Mercy, of course, but overall, Main's got to be kicking himself right now after that Transcendence, because that might have swung things there.
And some interesting choices here coming out of the offensive side of CIS Hope, as they're going to commit for the quad tank this time around. Not going to go for the Stomp strat again, and considering the fact that Matt will be favoring that Soldier as well, it's going to be very interesting. Those DPSs on this side of Jigsaw should be able to charge up those ultimates quite fast with all those chunky targets on the side of CIS Hope, but they could look forward here to just rush onto the point, force the defensive side of Jigsaw in a disadvantageous position, but they managed to fall down in the nick of time. We'll be looking to get a potential pick. However, so far, it's an all-out brawl as Sharik is going to go extremely low, but finally goes down. And Vision does have that flashbang on top, secures the kill, dodges out of the hook, but Kenzie still picks one kill in return onto Rubicon, making it a 5v5. Vonathil, though, looking to get that resurrect, will manage to do just so, staying safe on that side. Zhao still answering with a kill. Mad, though, still in it, gets a double of his own, and with that, it should eventually potentially be enough, especially considering his Vision already having that Deadeye, will cleaning up. And with that Tag Visor now still good to go for Matt, I don't know if CIS Hope can push through. They might just have to wait for Unfix's Graviton to really make that work.
And you have to wonder if Jigsaw might have seen something like this coming with this double hit scan, playing off the high ground, putting pressure down, where it really puts a lot of pressure onto Zhao, especially to try to block off a lot of that damage from the defense, or with the defense matrix rather. And now quick adjustments being made as Matt a little bit too over aggressive with his positioning, and he falls. Vonathil might be able to get this res off, but he's pushed off to the side. They're getting aggressive off of this one. They've already secured the first take off the last fight, and Valkyrie now being held by Vonathil doesn't want to pop it out too soon. Rubicon already did his Transcendence, so really they're just kind of banking on this one here to try to win out the rest of the fight. 2 ticks now secured for this tank roster. This lineup throwing Leodeads off of the point, taking the kill with it. Now looking at Latex. Here's Matt back in the fight with the Tag Visor. Gonna be denied by the Diva. Defense Matrix coming forward. Rockets in his face and in his mouth. He gets taken down as well. They will take this first point after they get this last kill onto Vonathil, and then secure themselves 30 more seconds on the clock, going forward with so much at their disposal.
Oh man, and Vonnefield, they're very unfortunate, looking to bank on the fact that with the extra staying power, the Resurrex is gonna come through for those tanks instead of the DPS. But Kenzie is gonna get a kill, and the Earth Shatter is gonna pick up 2 more. Sharik gets an easy double off of it, and Unfix finding another onto Vonnefield is gonna be all about the CIS Hope lineup. They have so many ultimates to work with. They can just go ahead, solo graph. It doesn't even matter if need be, because they already have 2 ticks rapidly approaching that third. Will be a last-ditch effort potentially coming out of the defensive side, as it's gonna be a Herculean task if they are to somehow still hold. Goes in for the Graphaton, picks up those kills. Vonnefield falls too, no escape for you. And with those final few killing blows, it's eventually gonna be CIS Hope getting another successful second point cap.
They're just so good at creating off of momentum. We saw that really rough aggression, that hard, fast take, where we saw the hammer come down, put everybody on the floor, then they just secure off of that. They're just so good at, securing kills off of opportunities, executing the play properly. And with that adaptation we saw with them going over to that tank strat as opposed to the Sombra strat, that actually even worked. Yeah, it was a little slow, but it still worked with a decent enough time, especially to get there with the momentum on their first engagement. But now as they're looking to defend, you have to imagine they're probably going to go with that same style, unfixed maybe on the Junkrat, but for some reason here it looks like they're toying with the idea of Kenzie on it. I'm curious to see what they want unfixed on. Okay, they are going to be going with that same composition. Zhao going to be with the Diva here, and Matt starting things off with the Genji as opposed to the Pharah that we saw initially. They still have a lot of time here to work with, though. I mean, both sides had a pretty solid first run through, and now it'll be another opportunity for Jigsaw. And Matt on this Genji, I think starting off is going to be a good omen for Jigsaw. We'll have to see what they could get done. Maybe CIS Hope going to be able to get something done for themselves here on defense like we saw before.
And it's a good read here coming out of Jigsaw, acknowledging the fact that, okay, Kenzie most likely going to be on that Widowmaker, would make Matt's life a living hell on that Pharah if he would have gone for it, but does opt in for the Genji, has had much more success with this composition, as it will look to dive in, look for those targets early on to start things out with a bang. However, it is going to be Leo that's getting desuited first, and so far it's no kills on either side. Finally, it is going to be Matt taken down, and with that one, it should eventually go over to CIS Hope, just holding out strong. However, 1 point, or rather 1 tick already achieved on that point, is going to potentially make things a little bit more difficult here for CIS Hope. Maybe we'll be forced to really give up that high ground position earlier than they might like. But considering the fact that they already have quite a few ultimate charges building up for them, things are still looking really good.
We're going to see now. Matt and the rest of these guys from Jigsaw, and Vision made a huge play to open things up before. Now he's going to try to contest this Diva on the point. But Zhao is going to be able to push some pressure back onto him. Health pack going to be for Envision. Now they're pulling back, and look at this opportunity here for Envision again as he's trying to contest the point. Zhao is going to be able to go ahead and turn his eyes towards this Tracer player, and now Unfixed will... Oh, he actually stays alive somehow in the face of the Tracer. He finds the kill there. Vonnefield bringing him back up. The tire takes down Latex, but that is brought back up as well. And now we're seeing the attacking team coming forward. Matt holding onto a blade, or very soon will have a blade, sorry, at 80% now as Kenzie taken down, and they secure it. Another very, very quick attack from Jigsaw. And Rubicon now at 90% towards his Transcendence. Very similar pace for Matt on the blade. And you have to look at this matchup between Matt and Main again, because last time we saw Main popping that Transcendence a little bit too early, allowed Matt a huge opening to clean up that backside and allow his team to get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of control on the objective. But here it's Kenzie still on the Widowmaker with a lot of space to work with right now, but they could get aggressive on this as Unfixed is not on the Junkrat, so they won't be able to just turn that fire quickly. He's going to be on the Genji instead.
We'll see if he can create more success, but crucially there in that last team fight, even Vonnefield really coming out clutch, managing to get a kill there, secured, and stay alive. However, Kenzie returning with one now onto Envision. Clean up all over here for CIS Hope, as they will continue to hold, and at the very least, now that they do just so, they'll be trying to equalize those ultimate advantages, as much as possible, because looking at the offensive side, if one of those supports is up, crucially Vonafil, looking into this next one, it can definitely help the rest of his team with that extra staying power to make sure they snowball the point. But it's gonna be down to those opening picks potentially here, and it's gonna come down to Vonafil now, already popping that Valkyrie early, trying to go with the rest of the dive team. However, it's gonna be Rubicon falling first. And now Zhao, having that particular kill, will look for more. However, Envision finds one onto Ang with the pulse bomb. Sharik gets another before he gets taken down. Main finds another kill, does have the Transcendence if needs. Self-destruct though from Zhao, finding his opponent D.Va, and with those final few kills, it is going to be overall CIS Hope once again holding, and with 1 minute and 30 seconds left on that timer, it should eventually be looking very dire here for Jigsaw, as they're gonna look to do something off of Matt's blade. Just look to pop Main's Transcendence as early as possible, make sure Rubicon has up as an answer for Unfixed, because, oh man, this is gonna be tough.
And if I was Latex in that last fight, I was looking for Main in that one to try to put that or pull that Transcendence out, because they had the advantage, Vonafil, Rubicon having their ultimates, Matt had the blade, but you need to get that Transcendence out of play to take advantage of that. Now you have to deal with a Nano Blade, more than likely from Unfixed, who's just waiting and biding his time to see if that's going to come out. Now it comes out, Nano Boost out, Blade comes out with it, Transcendence is saving the day for now, but they might still get the D-Mech onto Leodeads. This time it's Matt's turn, he unleashes one of his own, and that Transcendence from the other side once again is being displayed on the point. Kenzie is going to find that kill, and just both sides, we're seeing so much committed to that blade, trying to find that opening, and then Transcendence just denies it just like that.
But the problem there was the fact that Kenzie went in aggressive, got the pulse bomb, which really forced Rubicon to pop that Transcendence earlier than initially planned, and as a result, it is going to be overall CIS Hope winning it out for now, but it's not over just yet. At the very least, one more push remaining here for this Jigsaw lineup, as they need to somehow equalize the series with a win here on this Lunar Horizon Colony map. But Aang picking up the first kill, it's going to make things very difficult. Vonafil gets that Valkyrie with the res onto Latex. Does have another one if need be. The staying power here being overall stronger for the defensive side as they pick up another one onto Rubicon. Last res is out of the question. Latex still finding a kill onto Unfixed is going to be potentially big as Envision continues to roll out on this Tracer, picking those kills. Zhao still looking to answer with the likes of Kenzie onto the point, but now losing the suit is going to just be on that baby D.Va form. Finally gets taken down, and with no space remaining, Main might just pop that Transcendence, just look to stall things, but gets booped for a second. Will look to get on it eventually with the rest of his team, and Unfixed might be looking for a blade. Now having it available, he could turn things around. Envision picks one kill, but it's going to be enough. It's going to be the boop. Rubicon picks up that kill, but they still need to clean it up. They still need to take the point. Self-destruct from the offensive side is going to push Zhao away, but will manage to stay alive for a while longer. Question is for how long? Not long enough. And through overtime, eventually it will be Jigsaw taking that fourth point in the end.
And now we will see final attempt for CIS Hope. If they can secure 33% here, which, I mean, given their pacing on this first objective, you would have to imagine that they can, pull this off. But with what we've seen from Envision on this McCree, if they do go for this anti-dive, this could work out in their favor. And we're going to have to see what comes out from the attacking side of CIS Hope, because last time they didn't go for a dive. They went with something a little bit different. They went with that tank strat. It didn't work on the first push, but remember, they did get control of the objective early on, and they did get the first tick in the first fight, and that's all you need to get here to secure this map, the series along with it. And I mean, I think if I'm a betting man right now, if I was the coach for CIS Hope, either or, I'd be saying go with the tank strat, get control of the objective, don't let them in. If they do, punish them. Put Kenzie in a position where he can take advantage of the fact that if Leodeads or Latex go forward onto the point to try to create space for either Matt or Envision, punish him, hook them out. If that Fortify is not up for Latex, make sure that you take that Orisa down. If that Orisa goes down, there's no hope for them to get onto the objective. You take the first tick without them even being able to really contest you. So I really like this. Go up the left side here for CIS Hope. I think that's their best bet right now to get this first tick.
We'll see if it's going to pay off, as we do have quite a bit of time. As said, on that clock, 1 minute 40 seconds should enable them to at the very least have 2 potential tries, if not more. But Matt opening up with a first kill in Vision with a second support down here for CIS Hope. Things are going to be really tricky. Now sectioned off in that small room. It's going to be Sharik all by himself. Lonely Reinhardt now with some support coming out of Zhao to make sure he stays alive, but he's going to go extremely close to dying there. With the Discord Orb coming out of the side of Rubicon is going to make things very difficult, but the tire did come out. Zhao loses his suit, and that's already looking very bad here for CIS Hope, as they will try to still somehow push their way onto the point.
And I don't know about this. They're still getting aggressive. They found a kill into Latex, so it's a big opening, but they lose their tank as well. Leo Dead's now trying to make sure that they maintain, hold the fort down, and it looks like they will do just that. Unfixed, trying to stay alive, wants to with all this energy that he's pulled up, but not going to work out. And now what you've done is you've taken Jigsaw off of that high ground where you actually kind of wanted them to be in, and they're going to be instead kind of staying on the point for now. They're getting back into position here. But next time you go back in, if you decide to go the same route, look for Matt. Try to make sure that you're not giving anything away. You're not getting thrown up into the sky and leaving openings for your backline to get suppressed by the Junkrat, or even one of your tanks getting trapped. It's something that you have to look for with this strategy. They're going to go over the left side. Still, same thing. Look for Matt. Make sure that you're not losing out.
But the hook there, enabling a kill onto Vodafone, is going to be huge. No Valkyrie for them means that this fight might just be over, but it's going to come down to still quite a bit of heroic play from the offensive side. As Matt and the Hog is just going to obliterate the opposition, even with that kill, making it a draw in the end, where it looked pretty dire with Vonnefield going out so early.
And that's what happens when you disregard the Junkrat that's been in play since the beginning. You have to make sure that when you go around that left side, you're looking for that Junkrat. Even if it's just a potential, look for it so that you can see if there's a trap. Make sure that your tanks aren't getting displaced, or the concussive mine is even worse because it opens up opportunity for your sports to go down. But with that draw means another map on the board, and we'll see that one right after the other side of these commercials.
What a back and forth game between these two. I certainly didn't expect it to end up in a draw. I do feel like CIS Hope kind of gambled it away on attack. They were very impatient in the last point, and that's what eventually afforded the Jigsaw to defend.
And it's those small mistakes, those small openings they really need to hold on to, particularly in this case, apologies, get any win on the board. Because even with Jigsaw now managing to find a draw on Horizon Lunar Colony, they need to not only win the next control map, but the one after that if it does go to it. So
if they win Nepal, they also have to win Lijiang Tower, and they have a hard task ahead of them, so to say. Now in Nepal, what are we expecting to see?
There's a lot of different options, most especially because Unfix really favored a lot of different heroes so far in the tournament, and I would actually like to see potentially something like a Mei on Village if the opposing side picks out something like a quad tank, which has seen quite a bit of play so far.
Nepal is ready, let's go.
So looking here at Nepal, you know, it's gone back and forth for these teams on control. We haven't seen Jigsaw with a win yet on one of these maps. Of course, we've only seen them one time, and it was against Squid, who, as we know, have already secured their slot in the playoffs, undoubtedly. And on top of that are the Kings of the Comeback, which has been pretty much, you know, they've been uncontested once it gets to that stage. It's been back and forth, obviously, yeah, but it's just nothing seems to stop them when they get back onto that 2CP map and then just start surging forward and control the rest of the game after losing out a first map. But now starting things off here, an opportunity for both these teams to show out on a control map where, you know, it's been up and down for them. CIS Hope starting out with a tank strat, and Matt sees it coming. He's on the Pharah.
And we've seen how strong this Pharah alongside the Tracer can be in the likes of Piece of Cake in the past in the Group A, but it seems like it doesn't matter as Sharik is going to pick up the first 2 kills to start out the team fight. Now the following up ones will secure it at that. And even though Matt does have the Rocket Barrage, the point will eventually go first cap over to CIS Hope.
And you need to buy time if you're Jigsaw. You need to give time for Matt to start finding some squishies in the back, you know, really kind of terrorize the back line, because there's no hope for them to be able to contest this Pharah in the sky unless they get a hook or something, or at least allow time for him to generate his barrage, put some pressure onto the front line, and start displacing some of those tanks, maybe create an opening that way. Concussive Blast going to come out, barrage likely to follow, and he unleashes it. They find a ton of damage instantaneously as Kenzie takes it out of the sky. The Coalescence to follow up from main, because he was able to get that up so quickly, as you do with this particular character, especially with this particular lineup. And a great second fight, another hold here for CIS Hope, starting things off strong.
And now that if you look at this as Jigsaw, what are you going to really do? Because Matt, unable to find any success on that Pharah, will be committing to it, but things are not looking good, because over on the CIS Hope side, they're still building up momentum. They still have a lot of ultimates, and especially once you get that Graviton on the likes of Unfix, it should surely secure another team fight win, potentially going forward. But Vonafil will make the swap over to the Zenyatta. I like this because it really can help out with making sure they get some kills on those tanks alongside that Discord door. But the Earth Shatter is going to come through, and it's going to be all about CIS Hope as they will pick up the first kills. The D-Suit will follow shortly, and Zhao picking up another one. It's going to be eventually, once again, picking up another double kill. The third one of the series here for Zhao on that D.Va, as it's going to be very difficult for Jigsaw to do anything. They need to win the next team fight, and all of the other ones following it up to even make a win here on this first map.
A lot of greed coming out, trying to take Zhao down, and they are punished for it in turn. And now we're seeing 89% towards this Graviton surge from Unfixed. If he's able to get this up, both support ults will have time to come out as well. Aang likely to pull this one out, but now already a kill for onto Unfixed. They're not going to be able to res him up, so that Graviton not into play at all here. Coalescence comes, Sound Barrier falls. Now it's going to be a self-destruct coming out from Leodads as he already died off, and now we will see Rubicon picking them both back up as Unfixed is coming back from respawn. Can they last long enough to get this Graviton back in play, or is it going to be all over before that even occurs?
It seems like it's going to be the case, or they might not even need it, as Zhao picks up another double kill, make that a triple actually at the end, and it's going to go first round over to CIS Hope.
They didn't even need that graviton in that whole fight. 100-0, and an efficient takedown of Jigsaw. I tried to say like Michelin there for some reason. I don't know why, but now on Shrine here, things are.
A Michelin
it's
skin
possible.
for Roadhog would be cool though. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it would be awesome. I mean, it would be very fitting. He's already got the body type, you know. That
There you go.
XXL dad bod, I guess you could call it. You know, maybe XXXXXL. I guess he's definitely spent his time in front of the television set having some chicken wings. You know, he's definitely put in the hours. But now starting things off here, we're gonna see the soldier v soldier that we've seen time and time again on Shrine here. And on top of that, the dives from both sides. Kenzie going to be on the Tracer, taking on Envision. A little bit of a duel to start things off, and it's going to be interesting to see because Envision, I think, is a lot better on Tracer than he is the Widow. So this will be a little bit of a closer matchup to watch rather than the Widow duel, which has obviously been one-sided for Kenzie.
And so far, it will be Envision picking out that D-suit, but Unfix answering with a kill onto Latex will prompt Vonifel to use that Resurrect. Already out of the question for extra 30 seconds into this team fight, as so far the point is not going to go over to CIS Hope just yet, and Matt answering with a kill of his own onto the Winston will mean that Unfix still finds Latex in the end, but Matt picking up another. It's going to be a back and forth kills on both sides. Overall though, CIS Hope slightly edging out forward for that potential first point cap, especially since Rubicon gets taken down and Vision as well, and it's going to eventually go in the favor of CIS Hope.
This is so important too because Unfixed, you know, he is a little behind Matt in terms of his tack visor, but we will see Main very far ahead. He will be able to have his Transcendence for this next fight, and given the control that they have on Shrine here, and the fact that they just 100-0, they have a lot of momentum already on this map. So they're going to be playing off of that here. Tack visor should be ready for Unfixed pretty soon, but they want to put some pressure front-loaded onto these front line here before Envision has time to find a kill, and boy does he ever. That's a big one onto Unfixed. Now that's Matt coming through. Tack visor up for this man here, trying to look for Kenzie. Won't find him just yet as they're trying to find a separate angle, putting pressure now onto Main because he already used his Transcendence. But look at that display of communication from CIS Hope as they fall back, a counter dive onto the soldier. This time it's Kenzie's opportunity with the pulse bomb. He finds nothing, will be able to find the kill onto Latex after though, as CIS Hope surging forward after a great turn onto Matt to start things off in that fight.
And look at that, so many ultimates still available for them, and very crucial thing there was the fact that Leodets got desuited really quick into that team fight, and as a result, once Unfix got brought back up after that very good pulse bomb coming out of Envision, it did mean that he could just do so much damage on the opposition to really shut them down, make sure the counter dive is eventually going to come out on top. But coming into this next team fight, Zhao is going to be really close. Will be forced to use that self-destruct early. Self-destruct used on both sides, actually, as Aang is going to pop that Valkyrie. Sharik is going to try and displace the opposition with the help of that Primal Rage. And Vision finds Main in the end, as he's going to continue to look on for his kills. But Kenzie coming out on top of that Tracer duel as he picks up another kill onto Rubicon. And now Unfix looking to still dish out a lot of damage on that soldier. Uncontested for now. The Resurrects are going to come through. Matt is going to look to still do something for the rest of his team as it's overtime and his last-ditch effort here, but it's CIS Hope with a very dominant team fight once again to close out the series here, as we'll see Envision eventually fall and CIS Hope winning in the end. But a really close one when it comes to that assault map especially, so.
They're able to secure it here. Really good display. I think the tanks probably played the best so far today. You're really seeing a lot of shoring up with some of the faults that we saw, but Zhao, who's been excellent all tournament, continued that throughout this series as well. We saw so much lethality from this diva, great shutdowns as well with the defense matrix, and it was Sharik really kind of coming together alongside his diva player here to make things happen. We got one more game coming up after this though. Don't go anywhere. That's coming right after this commercial break.